ABC 10 News starts now with breaking news.
Traffic is backed up for miles on the northbound 163 in Linda Vista, where there has been a deadly crash involving a big rig. This is a live look at that scene from Sky 10.
And here's what we know so far. The CHP says the driver of a white pickup slammed into the back of that 18-wheeler. A SIG alert has since been issued. Now you see the backup. 3 northbound lanes are closed and traffic is moving through very slowly. Of course, we will update you as more information comes in to our newsroom.
Now to the coronavirus pandemic and the new lifeline for local businesses impacted by the pandemic. Good evening. I'm Lindsay Pena.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Today, the Board of Supervisors approved a measure that would allow businesses and places of worship to operate in our county parks. Our ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Dela Cruz shows us how it will work.
The County Board of Supervisors lending a big hand to businesses and places of worship.
Trying to make it as easy as possible for our businesses to survive during this very, very difficult time.
Churches and gyms can now operate at any of the county's 30 parks to comply with the health order restricting indoor operations. Many of them that don't have outdoor space have had to close. Pastor Mark Foreman with North Coast Calvary Chapel in Carlsbad has been holding services spaced out on their patio with about 400 people, and it's been quite an adjustment.
Because of distancing, that requires about 1,200 chairs for people to pick whatever chair they want.
But not everyone was on board.
Many people that told me that we look like a bunch of refugees that were just meeting with masks and distance, and they wanted no part of it. They weren't going to come back to church until they could take their masks off and do whatever they want.
At the end of July, the county issued cease and desist orders for Awaken, Lighthouse Baptist, and Skyline churches for continuing to hold indoor services. Now everyone has an option to reopen in a park setting, free of charge. Since the pandemic started, many have dismissed the need for distancing and masks, citing a violation of freedom. Pastor Foreman has this message for them.
As a pastor, I especially value my religious freedom, but the thing that keeps that in balance and check is the command to love my neighbor as myself. We celebrate our freedom, but not to the neglect of loving our neighbor.
Jennifer Dela Cruz, ABC 10 News.
What a point. Wow. Dr. Anthony Fauci said today he expects drug makers will have tens of millions of doses of a coronavirus vaccine ready by early next year. There are more than 200 vaccine candidates currently in development. Our ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl goes in depth to explain how different vaccines rely on different approaches.
Vaccines work by faking a coronavirus infection, so your body learns how to recognize the virus quickly and kill it. There are several ways to fake the virus, some tried and true methods and some that have never been approved before. The simplest vaccine approach uses inactivated virus. You take the live virus, kill it with chemicals, and then insert that viral corpse into a person. There are 3 groups in the final stage of human trials using inactivated virus, primarily in China.
The poliovirus vaccine that's in the US is a great example of a very effective inactivated viral vaccine.
Dr. Shane Crotty with the La Jolla Institute for Immunology has published research evaluating different coronavirus vaccine approaches.
The downside is it only works for some viruses, and it only elicits 2 out of 3 of the parts of the immune system.
The approach produces antibodies and helper T cells, but not killer T cells. The new and improved version of this is called a viral vector vaccine. These combine elements of the coronavirus with another virus, a common cold virus that won't make you sick. The University of Oxford is testing this approach in a phase 3 trial right now in the UK.
There are no licensed vaccines right now that use that strategy, but there are all kinds of vaccine trials that have been done around the world showing they're straightforward to manufacture, they're very safe, and they do elicit immune responses. And in fact, they can elicit, all 3 kinds of the immune response you want.
Then there are subunit vaccines. These use just a section of the virus's protein. UC San Diego is working on a candidate with this approach.
Working with proteins is more challenging, just from a laboratory and manufacturing perspective.
Inovio Pharmaceuticals is developing a DNA-based vaccine here in San Diego. It's now in a phase 2 human trial. In this approach, the vaccine simply introduces a genetically modified blueprint of the virus, and the cells do the rest.
Some people get confused about this, that they think it's a genetic vaccine in the sense that they're going to get injected with something that like changes their DNA, becomes part of them, and that's definitely not the case.
San Diego-based Arcturus Therapeutics is using an RNA-based approach, along with other companies like Pfizer and Moderna that have entered phase 3 trials. In our rough analogy, I'm sort of the RNA, the thing that reads the DNA instructions and translates them into proteins. Dr. Crotty says the RNA and DNA approaches have similar pluses and minuses.
They are incredibly fast to design, literally weeks.
But there are no licensed vaccines on the market that use these strategies. Derek Stoll, ABC 10 News.
You could use that story in online learning at schools. If you have a story that requires an in-depth look, ABC 10 News is listening. Send your ideas to tips@10news.com.
And here are the latest numbers for San Diego County. 348 new cases were reported today, bringing the total to 30,864. And 10 new deaths were reported, bringing that total to 578. Well, San Diego County is working to increase the availability of child care. The county is allocating $25 million in CARES Act funding to support local child care providers.
This investment will help provide financial flexibility that our child care providers need, particularly the smaller and nonprofit independent child care providers. These dollar amounts, which will be distributed to them, will enable them to adjust their procedures to align with COVID-19 safe reopening protections.
Increasing the number of safe child care centers is crucial for parents, child care providers, and the economy. Well, local high schoolers who are trying to take the ACT exam say that their test dates keep getting canceled because of the pandemic. ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Kastner discovered that some frustrated students are planning to drive or fly to other cities to take the exam in time for college applications.
It's just been a very unsure time.
Betsy Main says her daughter Chelsea is already feeling the stress of starting senior year at University City High through remote learning, now compounded with fears about getting her ACT test in time to apply for college.
These tests are required for a lot of the applications as well as the scholarships.
The communication's just been very poor. They've had to cancel tests. They didn't tell folks that they were canceled. Their website crashed.
Michael Coleman's daughter, Sam, is about to be a senior at Canyon Crest. She's facing a similar challenge. Both students' ACT tests have been canceled and rescheduled multiple times because of a lack of testing sites.
The first thing I could find that was remotely possible for her was in December here in San Diego. Now, that's problematic because the college application process starts before then.
He says parents have been looking for test sites in other cities.
I started inputting different zip codes to see if I could find something somewhere else. I eventually did get one in San Bernardino.
I found something sort of in the Magic Mountain area. That's a little sooner than December.
In part of a statement on its website, the ACT acknowledges that due to COVID-19 public health requirements, testing capacity has been reduced, and some sites have had last-minute cancellations without communication, causing confusion. We are truly sorry this happened to the students and families. COVID-19 has created many challenges for large-scale testing. Communicating the many up-to-the-minute changes with our sites has been a stumbling block. In a follow-up email Wednesday, ACT wrote it's working to provide accelerated registration for the fall. It's also working on adding more testing dates and adding pop-up testing sites for areas most affected by cancellations. Jennifer Kastner, ABC 10 News.
The coronavirus pandemic has now killed more than 700,000 people worldwide. The United States remains the worst affected country, both in terms of deaths from COVID-19 and infections, now at more than 4.7 million. For the 9th straight day, roughly 1,000 Americans died from the virus, pushing the U.S. death toll now past 156,000. Nationwide, though, there is some cause for optimism. An internal FEMA memo obtained by ABC News suggests the U.S. could be coming down from its peak. The number of fatalities in the country has declined about 7% from the previous week.
When the weather gets colder, people start spending more time indoors. We will see a number of cases starting to rise.
Lawmakers hope to have another stimulus deal done by the end of the week. Congressional and White House negotiators are working towards a Friday deadline to agree on that stimulus bill. In fact, at issue, a key benefit that expired in July, unemployment aid. ABC's Andrew Dimbert is in Washington with the latest.
The gridlock on Capitol Hill continues. Lawmakers still far from reaching an agreement on another round of COVID-19 economic relief. This morning, the president saying he might step in, teasing potential executive action in an interview with Fox News. His suggestion, a suspension of the payroll tax to help struggling businesses, but that's an idea many Republicans don't support.
I have the absolute right to suspend the payroll, to do the payroll tax, and we call it a payroll tax suspension. That's an incentive to people and small businesses and businesses generally to hire back their workers.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin putting a soft deadline on a deal, hoping lawmakers can come to an agreement by the end of the week. But as Congress debates the details, struggling Americans are seeing their bills pile up.
It's going to be very, very difficult for us. We're not really sure what we're going to do.
In a small sign of a compromise, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he's prepared to sign onto a bipartisan bill to extend benefits so long as the White House is on board.
On the unemployment issue, we all know it needs to be solved. We don't want the expiration to continue.
ABC News has learned that Democrats have upped their demand for school aid by $300 billion, 3 times the amount passed in May. Senator Chuck Schumer, who is part of the negotiations, laying out the Democratic position.
We are not going to strike a deal unless we extend the unemployment benefits, which have kept nearly 12 million Americans out of poverty.
And where both sides seem worlds apart, the extra $600 weekly unemployment benefit that just expired. But out-of-work Americans say that money is a lifeline, not a handout.
I'm frightened about what's going to happen to so many families and who need this money and who are going to end up homeless.
Congress is scheduled to go on recess next week, but that could be uprooted by these negotiations if a deal isn't reached by Friday. Representatives from both sides have said they will keep working until a bill is in place, but that could mean traveling back and forth between their districts and D.C. Andrew Dimber, ABC News, Washington.
And just into our newsroom, police are searching for a person on a jet ski who slammed into a group of girls on Mission Bay. The girls were riding their own jet skis when it happened. One of them was injured and thrown into the water. Her friends were able to help her to shore at Ski Beach, where paramedics took her to the hospital. There's no word right now on the extent of her injuries. A group of San Marcos neighbors taking action after white supremacist recruiting stickers appeared just steps from their front doors and outside nearby schools. ABC 10 News reporter John Horn has the message neighbors have for whomever put those up.
Kelly Keatley and her husband were walking in their San Marcos neighborhood Wednesday morning when something caught their attention.
And we noticed a red sticker on an electrical box.
They looked closer and saw the message, the symbol of white resistance. It included a link to a website filled with hatred towards Jews, African Americans, and the LGBTQ community. ABC 10 News is not identifying the group.
Really, I just see it as an act of pure evil, and it has no place in my community. It has no place in any community.
Keatley took the sticker and posted an image of it on a neighborhood Facebook page. Melissa Burgess saw it and found 4 others, including near San Elijo Elementary and middle schools, where her children attend.
I mean, I came home, I was shaking just from anger and pain and hurt.
The stickers come after a recent spate of hate-inspired incidents in the county, including people wearing swastika face masks to grocery stores and another driving with a Nazi flag. Tammy Gillies, who heads the San Diego Anti-Defamation League, says it's vital to report all incidents.
You have one person that can be radicalized on the internet, one person that is drawn to look at a website through these flyers or these stickers and goes down a wrong path.
She alluded to last year's deadly shooting at the Chabad of Poway, carried out by a 19-year-old radicalized online. John Horn, ABC 10 News.
And neighbors have planned an anti-hate rally for Sunday. The Sheriff's Department says it is investigating and asking anyone with information to contact the San Marcos station.